Welcome back to the Gentleman Ultras YouTube channel, and it is episode 2. And yes, we are continuing to do these podcasts. This is a bit of an interesting one, very much so, because I'm going to be talking about Genoa today with my good friend Chris here, because I'll talk about it a little bit more, but you have returned from what they call La Superba, Genoa itself, recently for quite the exciting trip, I believe.
It took a few turns that we weren't expecting, yeah, but it was, yeah, good fun. I'd say the blog's been well received already, so hopefully sitting here chatting about it, and we might be able to expand on a few things that we couldn't put in writing.
I think that's the idea, definitely. If anyone hasn't seen, it's a great piece, and it's over on the Gentleman Ultra at the moment. It's a fantastic narrative about just what happens when you go and spend time with the Ultras or any time on the court. I mean, we've shared some stories about the past, or whether it's been with Inter or others that we've had, and it always is a little bit different. And like you say, some of those experiences are a bit difficult because the Ultras have a rich history, an interesting tapestry. And I mean, if I just go to give a bit of background, I mean, I'll let you do most of this as well, because a lot of it was not just about going to see Genoa, which is an amazing city, to go and see the Stadio Luigi Ferraris, which is amazing also. But as well, it was to look at the history, which is obviously it's Italy's oldest club, the British or English influence to that as well. But if I just flip forward a little bit before you go back, because I know you did quite a bit with the history, but also, as well, I think that the ultra culture is interesting with Genoa because there's episodes that spring to my mind. And, you know, when you go back, I mean, a lot of that history is built around some of it because of the British influence.
Yeah.
And there's elements we won't go into too much detail here today, but in the mid-'80s, before the sort of violence pact was signed, the incidences with Milan and the Barber Boys, I believe it was. And then more probably what people might recognise of a certain vintage is obviously the incident with Marco Rossi in 2012 when obviously the game was stopped by the Ultras when they weren't really protesting against Nico Perozzi. And Marco Rossi is told to get the players' shirts and give them to the Ultras. And they all do this apart from one, and it's Giuseppe Scully, because his father is part of the Calabrian mafia, and he says, he basically says, "No,
yeah, he gets a pass.
I win." And funnily enough, the Ultras end up embracing him and they carry on. But I mean, that's just a bit of a taste. We could dive really deeply into that. But as a here and now, for someone who's travelled extensively in Italy to someone else who's travelled extensively in Italy, what's it like? What is going to that stadium like? And before we go into the history, what was that experience like on the day?
It was mad, really, because it doesn't look a lot from the outside, that stadium. You could almost be forgiven for not knowing there was a stadium there. Just the way it is on the outside, it's sort of, you know, in a very British sense, it's in a town centre. I mean, it's not the very centre. You got to get a bus up there, but it's not on the edges of the city, like, you know, the San Siro, etc. It's there. It just doesn't look much like a stadium from the outside. It's not exactly towering over the buildings around it. I don't know if it's built down into the ground, because when you go into it, it looks huge from the inside. You walk in and it's sort of, I sort of said in the blog, it had a bit of a look of Villa Park about it, because we went into the Gradinata Nord, which was the Ultras sector, and it was that was very sort of Holt End, the way it rose above the pitch, like sort of almost directly up. Yeah, unlike any other Italian stadium I've been to, unlike anything in Italy. Yeah.
It's interesting you say that, because I think that I think we've mentioned this, I don't know if we mentioned it last time, but we've said definitely off camera as well that when you look at some of the derbies, Derby della Madonnina is, you know, incredible, as we know. The Rome derby is amazing for different reasons, but probably, and one derby we're not going to see too often at this moment in time, the Derby della Lanterna, you know, obviously named after
I've got some good stories about that.
Oh, well, this is going to be good then, because
yeah, we'll talk about the night out after the game, and I got to see a lot of videos from the lads of the derby last season. So yeah, we can go into that.
It's supposed to be one of the most underrated derbies, yet when you see it, and if you just watch it on television, it just seems to be electric. And I think do you think that for all we like, because listen, I'm very critical of a lot of the English stadiums in a lot of ways. You know, it looks like they just, especially, not going to name teams here because I'll get blasted, but it looks like there are at least 20 stadiums in the UK that someone's been to IKEA, bought the stadium and just put it up in a flat pack mode.
I'll name them Middlesbrough, Derby, Milton Keynes. Yeah?
Well, there you go. Yeah, exactly. And this is why sometimes, but as old as they are, sometimes when you look at like the Franchi, you look at obviously San Siro, we can talk about, the Olimpico, Palermo, I know you're off too soon. All of these ones, I love the way they've renovated Bologna last time I was there. I was really impressed with it. And we like that sort of bit of diversity and character. But this is very much on the English model, like you say. But do you think that adds to it in some way? Or how does that transcend that we like it? We don't like that in the UK, but we like it in Italy all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's funny because they embrace the English sort of connection. A lot of the ultras I was talking to, I'm not foolish enough to think that people don't try and distance themselves from the British where they can, especially when you travel in Europe. We're not the most popular people in the world. But
Right, no.
I don't know, in general, they just seem to really go for it. They were like, no, it's who we are. It's the way we've come from. One thing me and my friends have always said when we've travelled is the Italian atmospheres, not just necessarily ultras, but just the atmosphere in the stadiums is fantastic. Even when you've got
Yeah,
the running track around it. It's
yeah,
still, you get a great atmosphere in a stadium. So when you then transfer that into a stadium where it's built on top of the pitch, like Genoa is, and it
yeah.
literally towers over the players, it just makes something much more intense. Like, I can't believe they're down where they are at the minute, because you sort of, even before the game had kicked off, the atmosphere that we're experiencing there was like, how are they losing games here? Because that really is a 12th man that they've got there.
Do you think it's
It's
pressure? Do
incredible
you
they
think
lose
because
home.
of that atmosphere? Do you think that pressure that's on them? Because obviously they've got that affiliation to being the oldest team. They've got the English link. They've got their own identity. They've got the perfect derby in a sense of the new boys in town, looking at different elements to it, who've been arguably more successful obviously in the last couple of decades. Do you think that there's too much expectation and that weight of expectation sort of resonates into the
No,
pitch?
because maybe outside of the match days, but my experience again of Italian football is that match days, there's sort of just a blind support for the team.
Yeah.
Really, unless it's going terribly, like we saw with Fiorentina the other week with Dzeko and stuff. Unless it's going terribly, there is just almost a blind support. Like, they'll just, for that 90 minutes, they're just behind the team, and they'll deal with what they've got to deal with afterwards.
The reason I ask, because when you look at, and this goes to your conversations with the guys on the Curvo, is because I always remember, that's something that our listeners will probably relate to. We talk about Paul Gascoigne when he was at Lazio. You've got a support that probably won't fill the Curva Nord, of course, but not the rest of the stadium. And yet, even that immense support, which is very sort of similar in the sense of it's just blind support, 100%. He was saying like Rome derbies and things, when he first turned up, they were like, buy a shit car, buy a terrible car. And that's his own words, excuse my French. And because they were going to kick it to pieces.
Yeah.
And he said that the pressure obviously was almost unbearable beforehand. And you just wonder if there's something in that. But like you say, there's so much intensity in Italy, you would think they'd be sort of used to it. But did the guys on the Curva, was it almost, because they've had a lot to be critical of over the years, especially in the last couple of decades. So how did they see it?
They were just, I don't know, all they were showing us was just their love for it. We didn't really go deep into, but you've done this and done that. When you turn up on a match day, we met them in the bar, they were several beers deep by this point, amongst what else they were all doing as well. We won't go into that, but look, it was about the here and now. That was already all it was for them, was the here and now. This game today, this is what we're doing. This is what we're following. We'll support the team throughout this game. There was a few rumbles because they went 1-0 down. There was a few rumbles, but it wasn't really anything drastic. There was no kickoff. In England, you look at like West Ham recently, sort of similar sort of situation that Genoa are in at the minute. If they'd have gone 1-0 down in a home game to a team struggling with them, there would have been boos, they'd have been walking out, they'd have been chanting to sack the board and stuff.
Yeah.
It was just none of that. They were just like, right, we'll go again. We'll just go again and go again.
Yeah.
It was, I can't speak highly enough of that experience. It was superb.
Nice. And Genoa is a city as well. I know you.
Yeah, there's almost two
Good and
Genoas.
bad parts, I believe.
Yeah, there's almost two Genoas. There's the port area, which was all right. We were staying not far from there, so sort of coming through there late at night, we were on our toes a little bit going through there.
I'm not surprised.
And then there's the old town, which is beautiful. So nice. I mean, the old town is what you think of when you think of Italy. It's narrow little alleyways, passages. You turn up and there's an alleyway no wider than two people, and there's like a couple of bars up there, and there's great restaurants and stuff. And it's what you think of when you think of Italy. I mean, even on the approach, we flew out early in the morning, 6:30 flight, I think it was, from Stansted. So we're coming in about 9 a.m. And you sort of drop over the Alps, and then just immediately the Mediterranean opens up in front of you over the Alps, and the plane sort of swings round. You get this beautiful vista of, like, we're lucky the weather was clear, because I don't think I would have fancied the landing too much on a stormy day. It was a bit sort of. There was at one point where
Yeah.
we were only about 400 feet off the floor, and like out of the window on the right, you could see the runway going that way. And it's like, well, he's got to spin this plane around soon. I mean, yeah, it was just beautiful. Like a really, really nice city. Like the views around it, great. Yeah, I could do without it being on the side of a hill. Personally, I'm not the fittest person in the world, but they've got a lot of these sort of lifts everywhere, haven't they? You go into a building, there's a
Yeah.
lift that goes up like 10 floors, and then you come out sort of halfway up the hill, don't you? It's really bizarre, yeah.
But what about the team itself? Obviously, if people, a great explanation of, the stadium, the city, but the team itself, because it seemed like quite a raucous game. The atmosphere seemed good.
Yeah,
Um,
the atmosphere was fantastic, obviously. We can talk about that till the cows come home.
but the
Team-wise,
game itself of the team,
it wasn't fantastic, if I'm honest with you. The game was all right. It's a difficult one as well, because being in the Gradinata, everyone's sort of got their flags and they're waving them, and then there's the capos at the front, and you don't really see a lot of what's going on the pitch. You sort of see bits and pieces as the ball sort of moves behind flags
yeah.
and comes out over there, and then it's back over there suddenly. It wasn't a great exhibition of football. Let's put it that way. We wouldn't be using it as an advert for Serie A football going forward.
Well,
They never gave up. They never stopped going, Genoa, to be fair. They went 1-0 down. That was bizarre because there was no Verona fans in the stadium. So there was like this weird, eerie silence when Verona went 1-0 up. But no, they kept going. And actually, I did manage to see the first goal, the equaliser, because it was at the other end of the pitch, so I had a bit more of a view of it. It was a lovely ball over, a nice little chest down, flick over the keeper. It was a good goal. I would say Genoa deserved to win. Verona, apart from their goal, didn't offer anything in the match, really. There was a bit sort of the last 10 minutes where they were just piling the ball forward. It was a bit sort of hairy, but they never really seemed in any danger, Genoa. Obviously, once they got 2-1 with their noses in front, they were fine. They'd had a goal disallowed just before it as well, so, I think everyone was fairly confident they'd win the game.
I suppose that result looks a little bit better now after Verona's Hellas's performance
The
against
result the other day,
Atalanta.
yesterday,
Although at least the game against Genoa, everyone could see the ball. Unlike last night.
Well,
but,
I didn't see much of it, though.
Yeah, that's another story, that one. So, no, it's an interesting one, I think. So, would you have any tips for anyone who's going to go out there? Because obviously there's a lot of people who follow, obviously yourself and myself as well, who, do go out and do those experiences. I know you get messages, people saying thanks for that bit of advice, but, is there anything where, for instance, is it, like you say, it wasn't a difficult ground to get to? It's not the old Delle Alpi, for instance, which is about 65 miles out.
I don't think their new stadion's much better either, is it? The Allianz.
Same place, yeah.
It's the same area. But yeah, just embrace what's happening. Really, like it's very tempting when you're in a foreign country to just sort of wind your neck in a bit and not really sort of not go for it. Just keep asking questions. Like we are fortunate enough. Obviously, I've got something like 14,500 followers on Instagram. So we put the video out saying we're going to Genoa, and you're inundated straight away with responses. Come to this bar, go to that bar, come and meet us here. We're going to go there.
Yep.
So we're very fortunate with that, really, that we can do that. But yeah, I don't know. It was a football shop, Miani, where I got this T-shirt. I'm going to plug them, by the way. They're not paying me. I paid for this. It wasn't even a free T-shirt. I paid for this, but it was a great shot. Honestly, they've got Genoa and Stamp stuff, and it's all sort of like their own design. So this one with the scarf with 1893, their Stamp one had like a Graham Souness saying Champagne Charlie. Like there was some really cool designs and stuff. Like, sort of they're quite subtle things to support your team. So I will plug that shop. It was great. If you're in Genoa, Miali Football, MEALI. But when we were in there, we were chatting with the guy. We were doing a little video in there, and chatting with the guy who ran it, and he's saying, "Oh, I'm in the ultras." So he was like, "Look, if you want a ticket, if you want to get in the ultras sector, I'll see what I can do for you." So I said, "Yeah, I'll give him my number, WhatsApp me, whatever." So we went out the night. We won't go into the details of our night, but we had a night, me and my pal, and get up the next morning. Sorry,
I see more welcome to.
To be honest with you, Rich, I don't remember most of it.
That says enough.
But no, we had a night, and I'll get up in the morning, and I've got a WhatsApp from him saying, "Yeah, I think you're sorted. Like we're fine. You know, it's not the most conventional way of getting into a stadium, but we'll get you in." So it just seems like then going in, he was like, "Look, meet me down this bar, Roxy Bar. It was opposite the Ultras section, opposite the Gradinata Nord." And he was like, "Just come down there." We sort of got off the bus by it, and immediately you can see like they're all spinning out to the street. Everyone's in complete black dress, which is that's Ultras, and so he's sort of approaching sort of a bit trepidation. Like, oh God,
Yep.
we'll be welcomed here. But like straight away, he spotted us and he was like, "Come on, come on, come on! We got your beers. We got you having a beer." And it was just they just welcome you. Like they're friendly. They were. I can't speak highly enough of them all. And if any of them listen, Jack especially, who we met and he took us in, and they were all fantastic. Every single one of them was great. They were so happy to see us. Like they were really welcoming because you can have that sort of ultra groups are notoriously difficult to sort
Yeah.
of
I was
infiltrate as
just
a
about to
sort of
say that.
yeah, as an aside, I think if you're there as a one-off and you've come from certainly, I would say smaller team like Genoa, they're Italy's oldest team, but like not an Inter Milan, not a Milan, not a
Yeah.
Juve, one of the teams sort of a step down from that. There was this massive curiosity about what the hell we were doing there and why we wanted to go and watch them. So and they were so friendly, they were so nice. We had the rules explained to us. And I think, as I said to you on WhatsApp, I've had me collar felt a little bit for putting a video up that I wasn't supposed to put up.
Yeah, that
I
happened.
got a message saying, "Look, take that down, please, because we don't accept that." But again, even then, they were all right. They were like, "Look, it's fine. You
Yeah.
didn't know. No one said anything to you. You didn't know. You're still welcome. Don't worry. But just please take that
It's a
video
funny
down."
feeling, isn't it? It's a funny feeling, especially because you always get that situation with the others where they say it's always a bar. You're always obviously going to meet in a bar. And for me, like I was really interested to hear that, obviously how welcoming they've got your beers and everything else. Because in a couple of experiences, one with Inter and one with Fiorentina as well, you meet in the bar. And even though, like, your first initial contact is, listen, we want you here, and this is something we can do this, this, and this, and look at the power I have, and we can do X, Y, and Z. And then you turn up, and it's almost like, what are you doing here?
Yeah,
And it's
yeah, yeah.
almost like well, you kind of asked me, and it's this sort of like real
No,
undertone. It doesn't
no.
happen all the time. I mean,
The
like I
general
said,
guys are great. I've got to be honest, and we didn't pay for a thing. We could
that's
we could
brilliant.
we could not give them money. Like I was at half time with this Jack that was with us. I was desperately trying to buy him a beer, and he was just like, "No, no, no." I was like, "Mate, come on, you've got us in." He bought me a load of stickers. He got me a fanzine because it was cash. I didn't have any cash on me. I never carry cash, but obviously in the ultras sector, it's cash only.
Yeah,
And he bought me all this stuff, and I was like, "Mate, let me get you a beer." And he was like, "No, you're not buying. No, he's like, you're my guest. You are not paying for it." Yeah, no, they were fantastic. I can't speak highly enough of them. If anyone's going to Genoa that's listening to this, drop me a DM because the guys have said, yeah, if anyone comes over there, look after you. Well, they're superb.
that's nice as well. I think is. Do you think one of the last questions on this topic as well is, do you think that that's because of the English affiliation, or do you think that's them in general in the sense of, because it is, I wouldn't normally ask that question, but because a lot of the time, I mean, that might actually being English may sometimes go against you. And I'm not just talking about in places like Turin, etc. I'm talking more, overall there, because, and especially with ultra groups as well, because there is that sort of, like I was saying before, there is that sort of guardedness sometimes of them bringing you in, and there is sort of a crazy set of rules that they go by and you have to accept. And like you say, I've had a very similar situation where, you know, I was asked to write an article, for instance, and then as soon as it was published, it was no good and it had to come down. And I had to speak to a
Yeah.
major publication that was featuring it and ask them, listen, you've got to. And so there's so many different rules. And I would also say the rules change as well, which is interesting.
I think they're very big organisations, and what's okay for one person is not okay for another.
Yeah.
And then so it might take a few days when they've all had a chance to chat, and then they'll be like, right, actually, no, this is not on now. You've got to get
Yeah.
rid of that. So yeah, I think there's a bit of that in it. But look, listen, look, I'm happy to be led by them. It's as I said to the guy when he messaged me saying take down the video. So it's your stand, it's your team, it's your area.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's your thing. It's like, I'm happy to do what you want me to do. Really, it's your rules. Do you know what I mean? I'm not here to piss anyone off. So whatever you say goes in this situation, basically.
No, completely. And then just going back to, do you think, like I was saying, the English thing, maybe
I think what I
not?
think it was actually. I was sitting there actually when you were asking the question. I think it helped that we'd met a few of them the night before. Yeah. So we'd gone to the shop with Miali, and by this point, me and my pal, we'd had a few, and we'd had a few limoncellos. And on a side note, they don't measure spirits in Italy, do they? They just pour them. We we was a little bit sort of in sort of that point of the evening where we're in a really good place.
Yeah.
Before it went the other way. So I think we'd had a few beers, we'd chat with him, we're having a laugh and that, and then we see a few of them out then later that night.
Yeah.
And I think they just got the measure of us a bit, and they were like, "No, these boys are all right." I think that
Yeah.
helped. I think that was probably the main thing. I think part of it as well, like, I don't want to sound like a prick, but I've got the page with like 15,000 followers or whatever on it. I think they were sort of like, oh, this is a good chance to show everyone the
100%.
ultras world and stuff. And I think they sort of bought into that a little bit as well.
Yep. And that's good because you want to, to showcase it, because I think that a lot of we've spent years talking about this, about, the ultra culture is, a lot of the time it's misunderstood completely.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah,
we've talked
I think
about
it is because, like I said, I don't have the greatest experience with them, sort of in terms of amount of times I've met with ultras, etc. But every time I've been with an ultra group, they've been fantastic. Don't get me wrong, I
Yeah,
know that there's an underworld. I know there's another side to it. I'm not that naive, but it's not everyone. It's not every single ultra, is it?
it's not. And it's like we were talking off air, and I've been lucky enough to meet certain people, especially, with Inter and stuff. And it's one of those situations where I was saying to you the other day, I was chatting to one of the mainstays back in, oh God, now 2015, organizes a lot, literally everything on the Curva Nord. And he said, look, 6,000 people here, you're going to get some idiots.
Yeah,
And ironically, you're going on there and people think that it's all like we see on like with English football hooliganism in the 80s. And this is a version of that. It's absolutely not. A lot of these guys, as I've said to you before, they're accountants, they're lawyers, they're teachers, they're salespeople, they're whatever, they're professionals. And they go on there to sort of release some tension. And you don't get to choreograph things like that at your own expense and do what they
yeah,
do. Well, not always at their own expense, but to do what they do by being an idiot. And it is really, a lot of it sometimes can be peacocking more than anything else. And yeah, there are groups of maybe some of the younger ones, which I mentioned before, sometimes, who are on more the outskirts of that curva, who are trying to prove themselves. And a lot of the trouble sometimes can come from there. But like you, I've never had any horrendous experience from ultra groups I've been with.
yeah. But again, I'm not an idiot as well, so I'm very well aware that even if something pops in my head, don't say that because you're going to upset someone. You're going to be getting turfed out the window.
Exactly. So excellent. Well, I'm going to draw this one to a conclusion, but obviously we got, have got the article up on the Gentleman Ultra, and yeah, that's going to be definitely, obviously, anyone going to Genoa worth the read. They can drop any of us, but mainly obviously yourself follow, and also as well a question. I know you're always good for that. If getting back,
I always respond to every. It might take me a day or two, like if I'm doing something, but I'd always respond. Yeah, I always go back.
Definitely.
And we're in Torino this weekend, so
Yes.
this weekend, this is a Sunday we're recording, but yeah, next Saturday I'm out to Torino for the game of Cremonese. So that's another one. That's a real flying visit. We're on the 7:30 a.m. from Stansted to Turin, and then we're on the 22:30 back that night. So
wow, that's going to be a quick one.
I'm going to be absolutely dead Sunday, but
I
we're
like
out there.
it. I've got to be honest.
I mean, that's really a sort of a fact-finding mission because I want to do more time in Turin, ideally, because I'd like to go to Supergar. I'd like to go up and see that. I'd like to spend a bit more time in the city. So this is really just to sort of check the lay of the land, make sure we're all right, and
Yeah,
it'll be a longer trip going on in Turin. I
like.
won't go to the Allianz because Juve murder, but
Yeah, well, do you know something? The only time I've ever been, to see Juve, and you'll get the drift of why. Inter, it was 2000, what was it, 6-7? So Inter, funnily enough, beat Torino at San Siro 3-0, and we lift the title after that. That was 5 hours on the curva. That was amazing. But I had to go to watch Juventus the day before. Because we were playing Mantova in Serie B. So the only time I've ever watched Juventus here in Serie B. So that had to be watched. So, watch me get a lot of abuse for that now. But probably shouldn't turn up in this one. They're going to... But no, that'd be good. So we'll definitely touch base on the plans for that Turin trip. And because we'll be catching up, I would have thought, this week before you go, actually.
yes,
Potentially.
I'm at the office most of this week, so I'm not travelling. So I'm at your leisure, Rich, to be honest with you, mate.
Popping in and out of Ireland, but plenty of time for it. So
I should say, by the way, just before we go, that I know we don't have any sponsors or adverts, but I am drinking Kraken rum. So if the guys at Kraken want to send a case over or something, drop me a message.
I got enough water. Yeah, no, that's good. One last question before you go, and I'm going to put you on the spot, and your Genoa friends, you better hope they aren't watching this one. Who's got the better kit, Genoa or Samp?
Because do you know what? We met a lot of Samp fans when we were out there as well. So we've already got an invite back for a Samp game because they're keen to show us that it's better than a Genoa game. So we'll see. Look, that'll be an interesting podcast to do when I've done that. I'm going to sum it up quite nicely here. Current season kit, I love the Genoa kit, actually. I really
Yeah, he's
like their
really nice.
kit. And of course, the away one with the St. George's goal, the Geneva flag. It's not the English
Can't
flag, it's the
constantly.
Geneva flag. That was
Yeah,
made very clear to me while I was out there. Current season Geneva, classic kits, Samp kits are great, aren't they? The ERG ones are fantastic.
amazing. One thing, actually, one more thing before we go. I've not even told you this yet, so this is how this is going to work. By
This is
the
a
way, I've
live
just decided.
reaction video now.
On the Gentleman Ultra, talking of kits, a while ago, quite a few of us did like our 5 favourite kits ever in Serie A.
Oh, you're going to put me right
And
on the spot now, aren't
so
you?
I was chatting with Feder, and we said actually that'd be really cool for us to do on YouTube. So you and I can talk to obviously Mark and Rich and go through, and they can tell us why they picked those kits. So we can definitely do mine in the next couple of weeks. But that's a task for your good self. Top 5.
Yeah, I've already got a
kits.
few that spring straight to mind. One of them is behind you, the Fiorucci Inter
Yes.
one there. I mean, I do like the Pirelli Inters because Pirelli's, that's what I grew up on, but those Fiorucci ones are nice. I like the old Sony Juve kits. They're good. I mean, even as Juve, sorry.
Though that
The
blue
old
and
Sony
yellow
Juve
one
kits.
was pretty good actually.
Yeah, they're fantastic. And there was a Milan one that was really nice as well. 88, 89 maybe, I think it is.
Yeah, Mediolan and the Adidas one, Van Basten.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
quality.
classic stripes, you know, I don't want to get into a rant here, but the last couple of years, Inter with their stripes, what have they been doing? Just, I know that you're going to get in trouble now from Inter, aren't you?
Oh my God. Yeah, no, it's okay.
For me saying this, but just have normal stripes. Like, come on, stop messing around with stripes.
As long as you don't mind reverting to typing game, well, the brand actually has been looking at. I'll just go to.
Just have normal stripes, man. Come on, that's all you need. You can't beat normal stripes.
No, you're right though, because like you go there all the way. Oh, where's the other one? It was. Oh yeah.
Yeah, Missouri.
Is
So
there-
I've got a reproduction of the Missouri kit. I haven't got an original one.
But again, I mean, I quite like this one here.
That
But
one's
again,
all right.
it's
Yeah.
not-
That's like the
it's
snakeskin
not
one, isn't it?
really-
Yeah.
It's not really. What year? We're going on a bit now. 2000 again. 2015. They
Yeah.
tried to almost redo it. It was Pirelli. No, it had the
With the
stripes.
Tire
That was it.
print, yeah.
Pardon?
That was later, wasn't it? The tire print.
Yeah. The tire print was 2011, I think.
Was it 2020?
Well, they may have done. There's so many now, isn't there?
Yeah.
There was one after the one after the treble. That was a bit of a mix, wasn't it? But anyway, the
Yeah.
whole point is that
We're on the right tangent here, aren't we?
2015. So yeah, we're going to do one as well, a podcast on Interkits.
Yeah.
So yeah, we may as well do that as well. So yeah, brilliant. All right, well, I will let you go. Brilliant as always to catch up with you, and we will touch base this week. And yeah, we'll try and get it a bit more regular date wise. But at the moment, work in progress. And if anyone wants
We've been
to,
all over the place, haven't we?
just drop us a follow, drop us the usual stuff. Like, and if people want certain topics, people want advice. I mean, between us both, we've been to quite a few Italian grounds. People want to know, what it's like, even to the likes of, I don't know, Provicelli or Navarra or Palermo's coming up for you as well.
Yeah, well, and that's the other thing. If people want to give me advice, I've got Torino and Palermo coming up in the next month. Well, tell me where to go. What bars are good? What restaurants are good? Help me out.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So right. So from us, it's ciao for now, and till next time.
Arrivederci. Well, that might